had a lot of pre-med, MS1s, med school students, year one, year two, pop into my DM, pop into my messages, and they're just asking. I want to get into the head of these MS3s, these MS4s, so these pre-meds. I want to get a better understanding of what it's going to be like as a med school student. So I figured, being a man of the people, what better way than to help you guys out than actually go to the students. Instead of them, they can't come to me. I know how it is as a medical student. You're broke. You don't got any money. I'm not going to expect them to take a flight to come see me in Charlotte. So I said, hey, let's go to them. So right now, we're in a state that has a lot of medical schools. No, it is not California. No, we are not in New York. A little bit further south, guys. We are in Houston, Texas, baby. Medicine is such a delayed gratification. People come into it expecting like, I'm coming in for the money. The money is years away. It's anytime soon. So you have to figure out, do you really love the game? Do you really love medicine? Is medicine truly for you or not? And these individuals that I'm talking to today, they put in the work. I'm proud of them. I haven't even met them yet. And I'm excited to speak with them, get a little bit of what's going on in the mental, and present it back to you guys, man. So without further ado, let's get it. All right, Dr. Courtland here. You mind telling me your name?
Angie.
All right. What year are you?
I'm a third year.
Okay, perfect. So going back to that moment where you were thinking about, wow, I finally got into med school. I got my acceptance. Were you feeling any kind of nerves, anxiety? What were you worried about the most?
I would say that I was worried the most about studying. I had been out of school for 2 years, so I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to study. I feel like even when I was in college, I wasn't studying how I was supposed to study.
Yeah.
So that was really my biggest thing. I didn't know if I should start studying now, or when I got my acceptance, if I needed to go ahead and start studying during that summer to kind of get an idea of what to do. So that was my biggest concern when I got my acceptance. How is this going to work?
Gotcha. No, that's fair. I'm a non-traditional student myself, and for people who don't know, it's people who don't go straight from college to med school, and it take a little bit of time in between. So what did you do during your time before you started med school? And do you feel like that made you a stronger applicant going in as well?
So I graduated during COVID. I took 2 gap years. My first gap year, I worked in a call center. So I was calling people who had received positive COVID tests, kind of talk them through a questionnaire, see if they needed access to resources, kind of pointing them into the direction of people who could give them those resources. And then during my second gap year, I worked as a nursing assistant at MD Anderson in the ICU. And I feel like that really made me a strong applicant because a lot of times we think that medicine is just butterflies and unicorns and rainbows, but being at a cancer center and then in the ICU, you had a lot of patients who were pretty critical. So just being able to talk about that experience and being able to say that this was something that that fueled my desire, even though it wasn't just always happy moments.
Fair enough. And what specialty do you think about going into?
OB.
Okay, why OB? What made you lean that way towards OB?
I've been wanting to be an OB since I was a little kid. My mom told me that I told her I wanted to be in the birth of my brothers and sisters, and I was in first grade. So that's something that I've been always wanting to do. And then now that I'm actually in the rotation, it's like, okay, I'm set on it.
Gotcha. So that was that confirmation that you needed. Perfect. Gotcha. And we know that med school can be a pretty tough time in your life, a lot of emotional, mental stress as well. How do you deal with the stress?
Hanging out with friends, and then also just realizing hanging out with friends outside of medical school. I feel like a lot of times we feel like we can only hang out with our medical school friends, but we are all suffering trauma together. Not necessarily trauma, but it's just a different experience. So Just being able to say, okay, I'm going to take a break from all things medicine. I don't want to talk, like whenever I would hang out with my friends from medical school, even though we would say we're not talking about medical school, we would end up still talking about medical school.
Right. Yeah.
So just being able to separate, okay, like I need a break from school. I need a break from everything that's going on, classes, tests, I need a break from that. So taking time outside of my medical school friends, taking time with my family, and just realizing that it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to say, okay, today I'm not at my best. I can't study today. I need to relax. So yeah, that's kind of been how I've been able to manage stress.
How do you find your balance? It's pretty tough just trying to make sure that you kind of have that personal life and that academic life as well. You're always feeling like you need to study something, you need to do something to further your career, for example, in OB. When do you know it's like, hey, I need to take a break? Like, when do you know that you're at that point? How do you know to find that balance?
I feel like as medical students, we always want to be perfect, and just trying to be physicians, I feel like we just strive to be perfect. But that's not reality. Right. And knowing that we are going to need to take breaks, we are going to need to collect ourselves, because that's the only way that we'll be able to actually help our patients. Just when I realize, hey, if I'm not at my best, I'm not going to be able to help my patients at the best that I'm going to be able to help my patients. So I realize, okay, I need to incorporate breaks. Like, I need to have time to myself. I need to have time where I am separated from all things medicine, so that then when I come back, I am my best self.
That's fair. Hope everyone's enjoying the content. Medical school is challenging. There's no sugarcoating that. From figuring out a pre-med strategy to even getting in medical school, deciding what to do with your time if you're in a gap year, surviving the first 2 years of medical school, or figuring out how to excel in your clerkship. Honestly, the entire process is a little overwhelming. But here's the thing. Medicine isn't a solo sport. It's a team effort. And you can't afford to do this process alone. Having the right guidance and support can make all the difference. And that's why our highly qualified team is here to help. Whether you need help figuring out how to successfully matriculate into medical school as a pre-med student, how to successfully leverage your gap years into a superb medical school application, what to say during your interviews, optimizing your ERAS application, advice to put you ahead of your colleagues during your first 2 years of medical school, or a survival kit during your clerkship years. Our team is here to help. We got you. So don't look for help when you're behind. Get the help you need to put you ahead. Click the link in the bio, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. Peace. All right, you tell me your name and your year?
Yeah, I'm Edgar. I'm a second year.
Perfect.
Dallas, I'm also second year.
Okay, so first question. This is for the pre-med, so you're going back in time, thinking about that time, you got that acceptance letter, you're super excited about getting into med school. Go back to that moment and tell me, what were you most anxious or stressed about during that time?
For me, honestly, getting the acceptance letter was just more of a sign of relief. So, looking back, there wasn't really much I was thinking at the time as far as stress. If I really had to pick something though, I think it would be the financial side of things. Is just how's financial aid going to, of course I need to do the FAFSA again. It's kind of like undergrad all over again, but obviously different. And then, we got our financial aid packages and realized it's all, at least for me, it was all unsubsidized loans. And that kind of definitely took a hit compared to my offers that I got during undergrad. It was completely different.
Yeah, it is a big difference for sure. What about you?
Yeah, same with Edgar. Getting in was a huge relief. I actually had to apply twice, and the second time I got in, it was super late off the wait list, so I only had a month in between getting in and actually coming to school. So I didn't have a lot of time to think about. I was just so happy to get in. It was stressful, moving to a new city. I kind of had to I had to find an apartment. It was the first time I was living alone. So a lot of I guess personal stresses, but I was also really excited. And then school-wise, I wasn't too stressed. I also wasn't sure if I should start studying before school, but it ended up working out. So I was mostly just excited.
Gotcha. Anything at this time you're thinking about getting into in regards to specialty-wise?
Yeah, so right now I'm pretty heavily leaning into cardiology, but I'm still keeping a pretty open mind, especially since I haven't done rotations yet. So I feel like a lot of people change their minds when they get there.
Yeah, that's very true, but I think you're on the right track. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm also trying to keep an open mind because I haven't done my rotations yet, but I love the OR. I've shadowed a lot in the OR, so I'd probably leaning towards something surgical.
Very nice. Do you feel like so far what you've experienced in regards to your medical school, do you feel like they're kind of setting you up to be successful in a career in the OR?
I think so, yeah. I mean, they're really focusing on our foundational knowledge right now, our patient skills, and I think those are skills that everybody needs. So if anything, just building on that foundation will only help me in the long run.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. It's, you can't treat patients if you don't know what's going on fundamentally, right? As much as we kind of gripe about the first 2 years of med school where it's just learning from the lectures, at the end of the day, it's still really, really really good to know that foundational knowledge of like all the diseases and all the medications and all that. So yeah.
I feel like every year is something else to pile on and learn, and you'll just realize over time what's important and what's not important. Is there anything right now that you're in the thick of it, that you're struggling with, or something that you're having a hard time wrapping your head around as a medical student?
I think we're kind of on the tail end of our preclinical stuff right now, and definitely for me, but I think I see it just class-wide, and might even be a school-wide thing, because I think I've talked to some of my upperclassmen and have similar experiences. Like during this time of year, the burnout is hitting pretty hard. Like all of us are, I think, pretty tired of just being in lecture halls, and like with our program, we do have clinical time a little bit. It's like a half day a week, so it's not that much. And from what I've talked to some other upperclassmen, they do tend to get a second wind once the rotations hit, just because it's a different experience, different type of learning as well. But definitely just like maintaining the drive to study and to keep working and whatnot has been a very, very challenging thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're studying for hours upon end. It seems like there's no end to it at all.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same, or you feel differently?
I feel the same. I actually love studying, so I feel like when you're a med student, you like studying. But yeah, the burnout definitely hits, and also it's just finding that life-work balance. You see a lot of us are in our young or mid to late 20s, so you see a lot of your friends, their lives seem like they're moving in a linear path, and you're just kind of stuck. Not stuck, but you're still a student, so you feel a behind almost in like your personal life. So that's been a struggle. But yeah.
How do you feel like you're dealing with that? 'Cause that's a lot of stuff that I experienced going through obviously med school in my 20s, and going on social media, and you're seeing everybody kind of continuing on chugging away at your life, and you're just in some doomy library just studying away in the hopes of being a doctor one day. Like, how do you deal with that kind of stress and stay locked in on your goals?
Yeah, having a good support system in med school, so having med school friends that you can lean on because you guys are all going through the same thing, that has helped. We can kind of talk to each other, and we know how the other person is feeling. Also, having friends outside of medicine that you can talk to just to get a break, and because sometimes they're also in the same stage of life, you just might not know it because you don't talk to them. So they're also dealing with their own challenges. So sometimes taking a step outside of medicine and realizing a lot of the struggles that you're experiencing, other people are experiencing too, whether they're in medicine or not. And also talking to older doctors, having mentors that you've seen how they've come out the other end. So I think that helps a lot too.
And how do you deal with the stress of just being in med school? How do you cope with all this?
I mean, I think I definitely try to prioritize my physical health, because I think that obviously affects a lot of your mental health. So prioritizing my sleep, it's notorious for pre-meds, med students that we don't get a lot of sleep. I am the opposite. I will 100% prioritize getting 7 hours straight over getting an extra 2-3 hours of studying done and sacrificing that. So prioritizing sleep, of course, getting some movement in on most days. It's not always the chance that I always get to get a full gym session or a full run in, but sometimes doing 15-minute cardio, just that a little bit of something is better than nothing, I think. And then eating healthy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, is there a specialty that you're interested in right now?
Yeah, I'm interested in anesthesiology.
Okay. Anything about anesthesiology that kind of drew you to the specialty? Because it seems to be a lot of people that want to go into that specialty now.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest thing about the specialty is work-life balance. It's a really big thing for me personally. I met a lot of anesthesiologists that I could see myself working with and, possibly being future colleagues. I also like the hands-on aspect. I like that they get to use their hands both in the OR and outside of the OR. I'm also a really big fan of pharmacology. So I think all those things combined drew me to anesthesia.
Yeah, excellent. And you spoke about work-life balance. How do you go about making sure you maintain those relationships with families and friends in the midst of all the studying?
So I just try to reach out to my friends and family as much as I can. I think one of the biggest things that when I started medical school was just letting them know that I will be busy a lot, but I would reach out whenever I could.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's the big thing, and just communicating that, because I mean, I know med school gets tough. How do you deal with like that emotional, mental like stress? And I know it's, draining at times. Is there any like outlet you use to be able to de-stress?
Yeah, so I'm a avid runner. I think exercise is one of the biggest things that's kept me sane throughout this whole med school journey. Something else that I like to do is I'm really big on self-care. After every exam or every OSCE, I try to do something to treat myself, whether it's going out of town, doing a road trip, or just taking myself out to dinner or ice cream or something like that. And I think that's really helped me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Highly recommend. Sure. So you said a lot of good things, but what would be the one thing, like as far as a takeaway, like you were talking to somebody who is applying to med school, just trying to get their foot into the door. With you currently being a third year at your level that you are right now, what would you go back and if you talk to your pre-med self, what would you go back and say?
I would tell my pre-med self to enjoy my time. I think that building your story is actually what's the most important thing. Because at the end of the day, we are doctors. I mean, we are striving to be doctors, but doctors are still people, and our patients are people. So if you strive to just be a robot, it's going to be obvious with your patients. But if you build yourself, you build your story, you build, you focus on what's important to you, then that will spill over into how you treat your patients and your patient care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would be don't compare yourself to anyone else. Everyone is on their own path. Everyone has their own way of doing things. And even if you grew up with a twin in the same household, you have very much different experiences, different strengths and weaknesses and whatnot. And I know it's really easy as a pre-med to compare. It's like, oh, this person's, even as a med student, honestly, but it's like, oh, this person's doing X, Y, Z, and I'm not, or like this other person's doing X, Y, Z, and I'm not. But it's, you take into account all the good. You don't also take into account all the bad that they have as well, because everyone's going to have some bad as well too, right? And so know that you're on your own journey. You have your own strengths, your own weaknesses, of course, as well, and really focus on that and don't get too caught up in what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, I love that. What about yourself?
Just really find your story and your voice within medicine. Figure out why you want to apply. Even explore other routes in healthcare. There's so many routes. It's not just med school. You could do PA, NP. There's a lot of different routes you can take. So just figure out why you want to go to medicine, and don't rush it. If you want to take a few gap years, take some gap years. Because I felt like the first time I applied, I was a senior in college, and it was super rushed. I didn't have a good story yet. I hadn't figured out my own path I knew my path, but I hadn't figured out how to present it in a way that would make me stand out. So, and I feel like it showed because I didn't get in the first time. So just figure out your journey, why you want to do it, and don't rush it. Enjoy your undergrad because that will show in your applications.
Yeah, I firmly believe that as well.
So I would just tell myself to just stay the course, keep the faith, keep working hard. I think another thing I would tell myself is to take every piece of advice with a grain of salt. I think when people give advice, they're giving it through the lens of their own perspective and experiences, and sometimes those experiences might not align with your experiences, so just always keeping that in mind.
It's the last question. So let's say like a little bit more fun question. You only have two options.
Okay.
Okay, two options. You can only choose one. Okay? So here are the two options. The first option is that you completely just wipe away your loans. No loans.
Ooh.
You don't have to worry about loans anymore at all. You don't have to worry about repaying them. They're gone. Okay? The second option is you never have to take a board exam ever again. What do you think?
I would definitely choose boards.
Okay.
For
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Any reason in particular?
Yeah, so like I got a lot of good scholarships and like worked throughout undergrad, so I didn't take any loans there. I took a gap year as well. Was in corporate healthcare there, so I made solid like savings, and so a lot of like the upfront loans I don't have right now, and I'm currently living at home with my parents too, so a lot of money saving there. So I think comparatively speaking, I'm not taking out as much. I'm very, very fortunate to not have to take out as much loans for like living expenses than some of my peers have to. So I obviously don't have as much debt accrued as some of my other friends. So and especially since I'm so early in my career, I have so many licensing exams ahead of me. I was
Yeah,
like, to
wow.
not have to take one ever again would be great.
That would be amazing. What about yourself?
I would actually go loans because money just stresses me out. I don't want to have to worry about it. I'll study in Hawaii if I felt like I'll study for the boards. I think they keep you fresh. They keep you like within, because medicine is always changing. So taking those boards, it kind of instills some confidence, and you keep your skills fresh, and it's a good comparison way to don't compare yourself, but it's a good way to judge your level to your colleagues. So yeah, I'd get rid of the loans.
Okay, cool.
That's a really good question. I think I would do the loans because I think the boards are really important to stay up to date. I mean, as you know, medicine is always changing, so I think it's important to try to keep that knowledge fresh. So I would definitely choose the loans.
I don't want to take step 1 or step 2 or 3.
Or any of them, yeah. Okay,
So yeah,
okay.
take away the exams.
Okay.
Definitely boards. I will be honest, I'm not the best, standardized test taker, so if I never have to take a test again, I'm great.
I feel like the boards, I'll do what I need to do,
Okay,
I'll lock in, take the boards, and then
Yeah.
they'll be over with. But those loans,
I feel you.
I don't need hundreds of thousands. Yeah, so I'm definitely
Okay.
taking that off.